Give them a shot to do what?
HSP is back. I am Jeff and Bryan alongside my tag team partner and co-host, the trendsetter Brian Berger. We are the Jersey Wrecking Crew. We're back. HSP on the Give It a Shot Network. Make sure you subscribe and download the shows, and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode at all of this amazing show. Trendsetter, what's going on, man? How you doing? Lots to discuss. But first and foremost, follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. And like I said, if you can't watch us, listen to us on all podcast platforms. HSP, you can take it on the go when you're on the treadmill, when you're at work. You can make sure you listen to HSP on all podcast platforms, on Spotify, on iHeart. Make sure you give us a shot on podcast platforms as well.
Pun intended.
Pun well received too, I think. All right, trendsetters. So lots to discuss. We, had a little post show this weekend for Night of Champions. Of course, always nice to get those Peleys out of the way in the afternoon. And we discussed a lot about the matches, but a lot of other stuff we did not discuss, we not get into. And we'll get into that today, and also talk about some injury news and the road to Evolution, Saturday night's main event, and All In, believe it or not, is just a few weeks away. So we're going to talk about that as well. Trendsetter, the summer in July. We want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July weekend as well. Lots to discuss. Trendsetter, can you believe it already? 4th of July. A lot of people think that now it's the end of summer, right? But we still got a whole month and a half to go. But how has this summer of wrestling treated you, man?
I think how we discussed it during the IG post live, where I feel like ever since WrestleMania, there's my train, ever since WrestleMania 41, it's been a scenario where, unlike 40, and I'm trying very hard not to compare the two together, I understand that, it's been kind of a letdown. The excitement after 40 and every event after that. Now, part of it could do with the fact that they're international, and that those international crowds are always enthusiastic. You're like, man, this is getting one home run after the other, or at least what appeared to be one. And then after 41, just kind of like, okay, all right. Not what I expected. I'll give the other one a shot. And that's pun intended here. And that's what it's kind of felt like leading to the summer. Now, I am excited about, what they're going to do with Evolution, the second goal right now for a women's PLE. SummerSlam, like I said, for WrestleMania is right around the corner, and then Saturday night's main event. So you have building blocks to get you excited for the summer, but what seemed to be a winter that never ended to a summer that has gone by so quickly right now. I don't know where it started, and I definitely know where it's going to end, but it's been kind of up and down for me in terms of the excitement for the summer.
So lots to discuss, so we're going to get right into it. We did not talk about CM Punk's entire journey into Night of Champions, and of course, him going there was a huge story because he had talked about not wanting to go there, talking about not taking the blood money by the Saudis, as he responded to The Miz 6 years ago. And that tweet will forever live with CM Punk, even now as he went to Saudi Arabia this past weekend in a very entertaining match with John Cena, depending on what you thought about it. But it was good to see them one last time get that match in. And John Cena gets the overall win in the record all-time series 8-7. But beyond that, though, it was kind of the weekend of what CM Punk did outside. And that's what I want to get into now, is because we didn't talk about this on the post show on IG Live, where we usually do our post show after every PLE or pay-per-view, AEW TNA or AEW. But a lot of stuff in Trendsetter. What I wanted to say is that, like, there's one thing where I can say something 10 years ago and it's going to live with me for kind of the rest of time till the end of time, and some things where you grow from and you mature, or some things you wish you could take back, but you can't. But it's building blocks on making you a better person, hopefully down the road. And I think something Triple H said is, like, if you don't change as a person, right, like 20 years later, 10 years later, then, what really have you done? Like, if you don't change or evolve, something to the extent, I'm butchering his saying, but something to that extent. And when we get to CM Punk in this case, is like, listen, I think a lot of what he said back then 6 years ago, not only was just, his political or just his emotional response to WWE going to Saudi Arabia, but is also a guy who, listen, he had bad feelings about WWE, he had mixed feelings about some of the people on the roster, and even to that date, when he sees something like that, hey, he was angry. He woke up on the wrong side of the bed, as he said it in Saudi Arabia. But to hold somebody towards that, or to think that somebody can change, whether it's from the good or the bad, it's the evolution of a person as a human being. And, unless you have and this is what I think it was, people that have this agenda towards Punk. And again, everything is based on agendas, and we try not to do it, right? We try to be objective, but for the most part, the IWC with their agenda has been like, oh, let's talk about CM Punk and let's talk about the hypocrite. It's one of your favorite words that you say, Trendsetter, so I'm going to use this. It is hypocritical if you want to have an agenda on CM Punk. I kind of like to say that it's just somebody changing their feelings or changing their mind. And we're going to get to the controversy about the fan, but let's get to just your view, your vision. I could say a lot of things 10 years ago that I've changed, and I've changed my stance about. It doesn't make me a hypocrite. It just makes me more, I guess, more learning about the subject that I was against or for, and then maybe leaning towards the other way. But just your avenue in general about this whole thing, how the months before Night of Champions started, where, hey, CM Punk really going to do this show? Is CM Punk going to take the blood money? As John Cena said, does TKO have CM Punk by the balls? What was your initial thought? Because honestly, this was something, again, like, yeah, it was talked about by a lot of people, but we chose not to discuss it because, again, it was like a stance that people changed their minds. But on CM Punk in general about going to Saudi, what was your first thought? Were you thinking Phil Brooks, the hypocrite, or are you thinking, hey, you're entitled to change your mind and your stance on things?
Listen, Phil Brooks is a walking hypocrite, but to a different extent in terms of this. When we talk about Saudi Arabia and what he had said 10 years ago, to be honest with you, I didn't think twice about it. I completely had forgotten what was said. It didn't take long for the IWC to remind us of what was said in terms of, going out there and him not being a fan of WWE actually participating in the events in Saudi Arabia. So I get it. But when you go and talk about how, is there an agenda against CM Punk? When I say things like what I say about Bryan Danielson, who's even a bigger hypocrite than Phil Brooks, CM Punk, it doesn't matter. You know why? Because it's all in jest. I don't really care too much about it. That's why I kind of make light of it at times. But, the IWC or people are just really upset by it. And honestly, for me, is there an agenda? Maybe, possibly. I mean, listen, there are still people who have been in CM Punk's past that are still holding gripes against them. Now, the very easy thing would be like, hey, let's move on past it, right? And that's where the hypocrisy comes a little bit sometimes when you talk about CM Punk, where it's so easy for, let's say, for example, people who have not seen him in the best light or have been mistreated by him in a certain way. We're excluding, obviously, the Saudi Arabia thing for just this really moment in this point in making here. And when it's done to CM Punk, it's a different story. So, yes, can people evolve? Can people change their views? Of course they can. But I think you and I are going to be the first ones to admit, Jeff, and I'll ask you this question. We live in a society nowadays where it doesn't matter how long ago you said something. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what side of the bed you woke up this morning or what was done past you in terms of personal that you are using as fuel to the fire of what you were saying at that time in terms of what your mindset was. It will always be used against you or for you, no matter what. So it will never be forgotten. So for me, like I said, I didn't think twice about it because I don't remember it. And I don't hold it against CM Punk for doing it. I wouldn't necessarily call him a sellout because, hey, it's business. He has converted into a businessman, as John Cena would like to say, but close to what John Cena said in that promo, and this is true. Now, this is where the difference goes between how you say, do people evolve? Did they change within time? But when you look at CM Punk, the character standpoint, the character, not the person Phil Brooks, it's similar to what John Cena said in his promo on SmackDown prior to Night of Champions, where your values change as much as the color of John Cena's T-shirts because they change drastically. That's why I'm always on top of it. I'm always annoyed because I'm like, how come it's good for CM Punk, but it's not good for anybody else? Like an example, Drew McIntyre in that storyline. So I didn't think twice about it. It's a company thing. So people want to say he sold out to TKO and people feel he's not the straight edge superstar that he portrayed himself to be. Well, folks, let's look at reality here. CM Punk was well known around the indie scene. He had a great following, but it's WWE that made him a superstar. And has garnered the reach he has now, because I said to you and you said to me, yeah, it has to do with WWE. When I said, it's amazing how people, even in Saudi Arabia, are chanting CM Punk. They're singing the song Cult of Personality alongside with him. He wouldn't have gotten that reach if he wasn't part of WWE, right? It's not just him; it's WWE the machine that made him the superstar that he is. And you're like 100%. So I don't see the wrongfulness of doing it. I don't see the hypocrisy that most people say. Oh, CM Punk said he'd never be here 10 years ago. Now he's there. Things change, man. Dollars and cents make a lot of difference sometimes. And again, I wouldn't call it a sell, but it's business. He's contractually set to work for WWE. He doesn't have to do the event. He chose to, maybe showing a different side of himself, him changing, him maturing, or seeing a different light. So, no, I didn't think twice about it. At the same time, I don't think CM Punk or Phil Brooks is a hypocrite for going to Saudi Arabia at all.
You can call him that, but I don't think in this situation it's just an agenda. And obviously the talk was before, he can't possibly do this. He's not going to go do this. And as it was leading up to, hey, listen, if you really want to get the Cena match in, and your only alternative is, hey, Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, we're trying to get this in, it fits storyline. You either say you do it, you're in, or you're not. For CM Punk, I believe this opportunity against John Cena was there. It was too good to pass up. And I think he took it. And I think, you're going to, and you said it best, whether you're for or against something and you put it out there in the Twitter sphere, you put it there on social media, it's going to stick with you forever. So he said what he said. He apologized to The Miz, but even before he rejoined WWE, he cleared the air that night in Chicago at Allstate, where he eventually got kicked out by WWE management. But he was able to clear the air with a lot of people, which led to, him coming back in the long run. But this whole thing, as far as changing his mind and all these things, only CM Punk knows what he truly feels about. Now we get into the whole situation where, like, all right, so he comes out to the Night of Champions, the kickoff, the pre-show, and the media scrum, and he gets the attention of a fan. And the fan says, hey, listen, basically, I'll apologize for that tweet that you did, apologize. And CM Punk did. He apologized. Now, again, tongue-in-cheek, obviously, I took it as, hey, listen, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And, the tweet there that lasts forever, it's there. You can find it. Was it a plant? Of course, you had people like Dave Meltzer saying that. And then you saw the Brandon Thurston article about, CM Punk kind of selling out and the whole blood money thing. And you get those people with the agenda like that. And listen, could it have been a plant? Makes sense, right? And then Triple H talks about it at the post-show press conference about, hey, the good thing CM Punk got to apologize, it was good for him, all that stuff. If it was a plant, and this is all driven by WWE, is it really a bad thing? Because after Night of Champions, he ran into that same fan again, too, coincidentally, right, in the front row.
Yeah.
And again, they kind of embraced and all is good. But see, here's the thing. Maybe it's just us being naive or us just being innocent, even though we've been fans for this a long time. But until it was pointed out to me that it could have been a plant, I didn't think of it as a plant. So now when I look at it, it could have been. But does it really even matter? Because at the end of the day,
Simple answer, Jeff. No, it doesn't matter.
No. And again, we're making a big deal because we're looking at it. We have an agenda, and that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to attack CM Punk at every chance that we.
Is it a talking point? 100%. Is it anything of value, in my opinion? Absolutely not.
Because at the end of the day, Trendsetter, they're singing CM Punk's song.
Yeah.
All he needed to do, and again, it's just say, I'm sorry. Those two words, whether you mean it or not, if you say it, they're going to forgive you. And the fans cannot wait to say. And once he said that, I don't know whether that calmed it down or because he did get boos coming out. But once he said those two words, I think if WWE did it as a plant, it was a brilliant job. I have not agreed with WWE's tactics as far as promoting stuff, the whole John Cena heel turn. But this, whether it's a plant or not, was smart. It was smart. It's a smart business to do because, again, it got the fans behind CM Punk, and that's what they wanted to do too. They wanted to get behind CM Punk in his match against John Cena and Night of Champions.
Yeah, and again, not to touch base on this any further, I think you explained it well, and I obviously gave my points early on here. I think it's just a talking point. It is what it is. For example, CM Punk will have his opinions, and it'll change through the years, through the days, through the months, through the seconds that he changes his mind on a certain perspective, right? But when it comes to this, too, yes, were there boos, of course, but still, you had a building, although you heard some boos, chanting his name and singing his song as he walked to the ring. So if he sells one less t-shirt, has one less follower on social media, he's not gonna lose any sleep over it. The thing that I find hypocritical at times with CM Punk is that sometimes he makes himself out to be the victim of everything and everyone else is wrong. And that's where I have my gripes with him too. But at the end of the day, that's my opinion. It's what I think. And it's not gonna stop CM Punk from continually doing what he does. And at this point right now, regardless whether you're for the whole Saudi Arabia thing, you think he's a hypocrite, you think he's a liar, you think he's a sellout, there's one thing definitely that he has, or two things. He has a connection with the audience and he sells tickets, and that's all WWE wants from him right now.
And whether or not you think he's a sellout, whether or not you think he's a hypocrite, you know what you did? You tuned into Night of Champions because you wanted to watch CM Punk. Love him or hate him, he draws a reaction from you. Before we close out the whole CM Punk thing, though, the one thing that did bother me about CM Punk, now a lot of people loved it. I was a fan of the Pipe Bomb 2.0 version from John Cena. Was a little bit weird as far as like the timing and having CM Punk laying down so much. Hey, listen, whatever. That's each their own. I was a fan of the promo itself. Heading into the Friday Night SmackDown before, though, where it was time for CM Punk's rebuttal. This is to me where my thing where CM Punk was, where like John Cena's TKO's got you by the balls kind of really stuck with me here because I'd never actually seen CM Punk kind of I'm not saying stoop to that level, but that rebuttal to me just seemed like it wasn't anything CM Punk would have ever done 10 years ago. Now you're allowed to change, yes, but it just seemed very cartoonish. And for a guy that really kind of smoked you in the last promo, I just thought it was nothing. It was the first time I think that CM Punk kind of let me down as far as a rebuttal, and that's something crazy I never thought I'd say as far as him with his gift of gab and him on the mic. It's the first time though I felt let down in that promo. I really thought that it was entertaining, but it to me just was not CM Punkish. I don't know how you felt about that too, but just kind of felt off.
What was off, the promo itself, Jeff, or was the fact that he dressed up as the Doctor of Punkonomics?
I guess it was hard to take him serious, and to me, I just believe you need a serious promo, and I just think coming out in the jorts and all that stuff, I get it. I'm not dumb, whatever like that, but I just think for that time, you just needed just CM Punk just laying into John and just really building this up. And I just thought I'd expect a little bit more out of Punk. And it's the first time in a long time that he kind of let me down in that aspect.
And it's fair enough. I mean, the way I'd rebuttal that with you, Jeff, is the fact that he did do what you wanted him to do. He laid into John Cena. He got personal with him the week prior to that SmackDown where John Cena laid out his pipe bomb. He went into him. He hit him with some good notes, and John didn't really rebuttal. He just basically said, hey, you want a shot at me? How about Saudi Arabia Night of Champions? And that was it. And then as the week followed, it was what happened at SmackDown. And then in Saudi Arabia, when he comes out as the Doctor of Punkonomics and does that, imitation of what, John Cena was originally in the very beginning of his career. Listen, I can't say that I didn't want that either. Like, I wanted him to kind of lay into him and get more personal and say, how dare you use my pop bomb? Or my old, you're copying from me again, similar to, you're going to take the title away from me, you're going to kill wrestling. But at the same time, I wasn't surprised by it because, hey, listen, if you're going to copy me and what I did, I'm going to copy you at what I thought was your very best when you were dissing out, lyrics and kind of hating on people and making it entertaining for the crowd. So I wasn't completely against it, but let's be honest, Jeff, this isn't the first time you've seen Punk do this. So in terms of, you see, I'm kind of disappointed that, people are saying, not you, but people are saying he sold out. I mean, you could be disappointed in the promo, no question about that. But, oh my God, he's dressing up as that. He would never do that in the past. Hello, people. Remember when he got his head shaved when he was part of the what was it? The Straight Edge Society, right? And he wore a mask like Rey Mysterio because he was in a match with Rey Mysterio. And he was walking around in Rey Mysterio luchador mask. He was dressing up and imitating Rey Mysterio in that storyline. It wasn't a long time ago when he was world heavyweight champion. He dressed up like Jeff Hardy and was making fun of his alcoholism and his issues with that. He dressed up like him. He did the dance. Most people thought it was Jeff Hardy. He's done this before. He's cosplayed as characters before. So this is maybe it's the first time in a long time we've seen him do this, but this isn't the first time it's been done. For people who are such CM Punk enthusiasts saying, oh my God, I can't believe he sold out. Why would he do this? First of all, why would he go to Saudi Arabia?
Well, that wouldn't be an enthusiast. That would be a hater, a basher.
No, I'm talking about the people who look at CM Punk and think everything he does is right. He's this pure guy. And now that's not straight edge, let alone he's not doing drugs, drinking alcohol, but he's conforming to the machine. He's conforming to what WWE does. That's not him. He goes against the grain. He wouldn't do that. A real CM Punk would say, no, I'm not going to dress up like John Cena. That's embarrassing. Guys, it's wrestling. It's business. It's not the first time he's done it before. So to your point, yes, was the promo not what you wanted or expected the night before or the 2 nights before the big event? Yeah, sure, of course. Maybe you wanted something different. You wanted to get him to the face. You wanted to get physical. But from a nostalgia standpoint and knowing that these two individuals, this is the last time they're going to score off in the history of great promos they have done with each other in the past and currently now, I thought it was a nice ribbon in terms of the nostalgia factor. The nostalgia factor that, you know, when John Cena finally hangs up his sneakers and his shorts, will be what we'll be talking about from this point on. So, yes, I'm going to say I wasn't a fan of the promo at the end, but I wouldn't hear say that he is a sellout for doing that or he's changed his ways and conformed way too much to the other side. It's business, guys. It was a fun little thing he did, and ultimately we got a great match like we wanted to. So there's no need to complain about it. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? But unfortunately, it wasn't the promo that people wanted.
Definitely John Cena's best work, though. My favorite rivalry so far since John Cena's heel turn. Obviously, now he.
Despite what I say about CM Punk too, I think this stage of CM Punk's career and John, I think they're having the most fun. Now, I don't know how difficult CM Punk is backstage. I've been hearing people say, "Oh, he's still the same annoyance backstage in terms of creative," but John's having. It looks like he's having an amazing time. He's having a great time. You can tell in the ring he is. He's enjoying himself.
How do you think? And again, I didn't want to get into this, but how do you think Phil's like hard to work with backstage? I think he's been, from what I've seen, I think he's been a lot easier.
People in the locker room are mentioning on social media that he's still the annoying Phil Brooks out there, stuff like that. He still is a pain in the you know what to deal with at times. But
I've not heard that. But we go on to what probably was to me one of the surprising matches, was a highlight, and we talked about it on the post show that. Really not a fan of how the ending was, but then again, now seeing where Rhea Ripley is being positioned in, it definitely I couldn't see Rhea Ripley not beating Raquel Rodriguez, but a lot of people liked that match. A lot of people gave props to Raquel Rodriguez, saying it's probably one of her best matches in a long time, if not her best match. And Rhea Ripley bringing out the best in Raquel and her having another great match. And it just shows you the stock of Rhea Ripley, and that's why she's in the position she is. And we find out that she will challenge Io Sky. Actually, it's funny that Io Sky challenges Rhea at Evolution. But now we talk about the IWC and this hate for Rhea Ripley. Obviously you talked about how could you cheer for Rhea in the whole Liv Morgan situation, where it was Rhea that put Liv out of commission and Liv was just seeking revenge in this whole Liv Morgan revenge tour, right? We get that aspect, but this extra hate for Rhea Ripley being good and not her positioning where she's at, because I don't think she's doing that. I think the company sees, hey, Rhea's a star. She's on the front cover of the Evolution poster, as she should. She is that big right now, and I have no problem. The whole Rhea Hogan thing and people using Becky Hogan, I don't see it, trendsetter. I don't see where this hate is coming from. Maybe sometimes when you're on top of a lot, and mommy's always on top, right? Like, you're gonna get haters, and even your biggest supporters are gonna become your detractors, because they're like, oh, why don't you give this person a shot? Well, you know what though? They're still going crazy over Rhea. They love her, and she's still a draw. And as far as I see it, she's, to me, one of the top 5 females in wrestling and in the company. So why not be in the spot? And would I maybe like to see Stephanie Vaquer and Io Sky maybe fight for that? Hey, we'll get there. But now Rhea Ripley and Io Sky is you're trying to sell this Evolution PLE. It's an all-women PLE. Will it sell out in Atlanta? We'll find out. But adding Rhea into one of the main events or in the championship matchup is going to help. So I don't see why this online hate for Rhea is going on, or why even exists, because Rhea hasn't changed. Like she hasn't changed, and I just don't get this online this attraction for her all of a sudden. I really don't.
All right. Well, let me preface by saying this though, Jeff. With Rhea Ripley, and I thought people have been upset of me saying negative things about Rhea Ripley, of me keeping her name out of my mouth, supposed to say, right? In terms of speaking negatively about the character, not the person. I love Rhea Ripley. I really do. And I speak of things about her critically because I'm not a fan of how the WWE is portraying her, how creative is portraying her. Listen, I saw her last interview with her boy, Chris Van Vliet, and my goodness, you couldn't love a nicer person. She loves this business. She loves what she does. She's really an introvert at heart, which makes it amazing in terms of her character that she portrays when she walks down that aisle and that song hits and she's in the ring. She's like a different person in her own element, right? And so I always appreciate that. And to me, Rhea Ripley is a major star in this company and doesn't even have a ceiling yet, because I don't think she's even reached it. What I don't like what WWE does, which I guess I can only assume from my vantage point, creates resentment in the internet with Rhea, that people calling her Rhea Hogan or just having resentment that everything is going her way, is that I don't appreciate the fact that a character like hers and what she's done in the past can be completely ignored, or how they're trying to portray sympathy for a character that we should never, ever feel sympathetic for. She should be this large-in-life woman badass that she should be. When I think of her, I think of a Stone Cold Steve Austin or a Rock, for example, or even someone that people compare to who takes this great compliment to, the ninth wonder of the world, China. They never apologize for anything they did. Do they admit what they did in the past? Did they admit it was wrong? Yeah, they do, but then they move on from it. They never showcase themselves as, this person was a friend of mine, and, I might have done some things in the past that were bad, but, they stabbed me in the back, and that really hurt me. Like, come on. Who are we trying to kid here? So, honestly, and let's get right back to the Saudi Arabia match, too. I wasn't a fan of it. I was a fan of the fact that, listen, these two women, Raquel Rodriguez and
the match or the outcome?
The outcome. The match itself, I had no problem with. You know why? Because these two have amazing chemistry ever since NXT. But prior to her talking in an interview, prior to the event, saying, this whole thing between me and her, she turned her back on me, blah, 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 cry me a river. Why? Because people are jealous of your success. From a character standpoint, I don't understand why W is trying to make us feel sympathy, because you don't need that in order to relate or cheer for Rhea Ripley. So that's what I hate, and that's what I despise the most. And I don't think she should have won it, because I felt if you're going to build a star, Rhea Ripley doesn't need that victory. Maybe it's because people, in Saudi Arabia wanted to see Rhea Ripley, so for her to lose wouldn't have been great business sense, but she doesn't need to win these right now. As the same point, and I understand why they positioned her this way for Evolution, because, hey, she's the big name here, and Io have had amazing matches. Have her go one-on-one for the title. I have no problem with her going for the title, but she's the kind of individual right now that doesn't need the title. So the title is always going to be there, whether she's on Raw or SmackDown. But in the event of Raquel Rodriguez, I felt she needed to win more, because you're like, wow, that would have been shock value. That would have people looked at Raquel, despite how dominant she was in the match against Rhea to a certain point, that, man, this person actually has the capability of defeating someone like Rhea Ripley, or could be on her level of dominance physicality-wise, because every single person Rhea's been in the ring with, she's overpowered. She's been dominant for. Could there be that belief that somebody else is just at that level? So that's why I didn't like it. But for Rhea, I think the reason why people hate it is because of the way the company directs her. They try to make her sympathetic. They try to make her into something she's not. She could be mommy. She could say, I'm Rhea Bloody Ripley, and do all the things she does right now, which people get a reaction for and they love. Just stop making her feel sympathetic, because I don't need to feel sympathy for Ripley. She is a machine. She is a badass. Let her be a badass. Stop making us feel or make her feel more human. because you're dehumanizing or you're disfiguring the image of what Rhea Ripley is by trying to make her feel bad that people don't like her in the back, or bad that I thought I had friends and I don't have friends. It doesn't matter. You're a superstar. You don't need to have friends. All you care about is being on top, Rhea. That's all I care about.
You don't need to humanize her.
Yeah,
you
don't like humanizing her at all.
Yeah. So it's not humanizing her and making her just like any other person that has feelings. You want to make her larger than life, and there's obviously ways to book your baby face. Like you said, like there's some people that are not just going to show their vulnerability. Some baby faces can, but a person who's looks like Rhea should exude confidence. But again, maybe sometimes that confidence, and she does exude that sometimes. I think there's a line that they blur where they're confident.
My question to you, Jeff, is do you like that when they do that? They try to
make
her feel sympathetic to people.
I thought it was going to lead to like a breakdown. I thought it was going to lead to her losing her confidence, but it kind of just was more on the emotional aspect because she ended up taking the title back on January 6th on that Raw on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And then she surprisingly lost it to Io, right? And then she had a little bit of a spell of a little bit of a not losing streak, but just kind of like surprising that she lost to Io. But now builds up to this. And the Raquel Rodriguez matchup, to me, again, like looking back on it in the beginning, you were like, okay, Raquel should do this. But then Rhea's being put in the spot. It's about what the next thing is going to be, whether you like it or not. They're looking forward to the next PLE, and it's going to be this. And you want Rhea coming off a victory. And again, what gets to me is just the continuity here where you see that Io is challenging Rhea, but if Rhea's confident enough saying, hey, I just came off a big win against Raquel, hey, Io, come on, what do you say, me and you? But for Io to just go up there and challenge Rhea, it's kind of leading me to think, okay, well, this is what you wanted, Io, and it's going to be her fault because she called out Rhea, which could cause her to lose. I still don't know if she's going to lose that title at Evolution, but I would expect it. And it'd just be like, okay, Io, come on, you're the champion here. You're a fighting champion. Obviously, you want this match, but you wanted it, so be prepared for the consequences when mommy beats you. Is where I think it's leading to. But
it makes it weird that the champion would actually go challenge somebody.
Yeah, usually
we haven't seen Io in a long time. We haven't seen her on TV for a while. I know she's nursing an injury. It's been designed that way. Then she comes out saying, I want to challenge the best. I want to challenge you. When anybody with a smart head would say, why would you go against your most dangerous opponent? Why? Let her earn that.
Well, hopefully Io's not hurt. I just think it's just the booking of Triple H.
I'm not claiming her to be her. I'm saying unless she's injured or that's the way it's designed, she's taking some time off TV because she hasn't been in the limelight. Comes out on Raw after we hadn't seen her almost it feels like 3 or 4 weeks, and then challenges Rhea Ripley. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Shouldn't Rhea qualify for something or should do something to see who'll be?
Well, I just think if Rhea calls her out, then as Io being another babyface, she's not going to back down and she's going to accept it. But it's just weird for Io to come. It's as far as Io to come out and just challenge her. Just kind of you can respect that, but it just normally doesn't happen like that. So we'll see where it leads to. But again, in the injury bug kind of derailed a lot of stuff for Evolution because one thing we talk about was Liv Morgan's injury, and obviously it was felt because it kind of like derailed a couple of things that they were planning for the Evolution PLE. And again, we wish Liv Morgan a speedy recovery. It just shows how much she's missed. But again, it opens the door for Roxanne Perez to do her thing. And now she is the co-holder of the women's tag team titles with Raquel Rodriguez. And they said like a fatal 4-way is in the works for that one. So we'll see what happens there. But also Chad Gable now, El Grande Americano, allegedly, obviously found out it was never Chad Gable and kind of looks like Ludwig Kaiser now. But a big blow to Chad Gable, though, is going to be out till at least December. And when you think about this individual right here, ever since WrestleMania 40, we were rooting for Chad. And obviously, he's shown just what an awesome competitor he is and what a great wrestler he is. And we saw the matchup with El Hijo de Vikingo at Worlds Collide, and it just shows you just how versatile he is. And then you get this injury. And, I would have loved to see – they were speculating a mask versus mask with Penta at SummerSlam. I would have loved to see that, but he gets written off on Monday Night Raw, and we wish him a speedy recovery. But just these injuries just suck right now too, and especially for a guy like Chad Gable, who obviously right now is just on another level.
Yeah, listen, you talk about injuries to individuals. I mean, there's no shadow of a doubt in my mind that Liv Morgan is the MVP of the female roster.
Yeah.
Without a question to me. I mean, you can argue it, but I would, define it with other things she's accomplished, why she's such an important factor, which is the reason why a lot of things have been changes around for Evolution in terms of kind of moving things around due to the injury, right? But Chad also with the shoulder injury. Chad to me is one of the biggest MVPs of that men's roster that I've ever seen because he shows he can go. He shows that basically maybe it's a detriment to him. I don't know. I'll ask your opinion. What do you think of it? That even when he did Shorty G, he's proven that he can make anything work. Now, by working, I don't mean it being a success or it getting over, but he will do anything you ask of him, and he'll give it 110%. And this version of it, like I said, I'll go back and reflect in the past. I hate to dwell, but I must at this point. WrestleMania 40 should have been his moment to win the Intercontinental title. Everybody, beyond everybody, and I love Sami Zayn, they wanted Chad Gable in that spot with Gunther. That story was believable. It garnered emotion. It got personal with family, with doubt. Can I win the big one? It should have been Chad's moment. And then it wasn't. It was Sami Zayn's moment. Regardless of whatever you want to think about politicking, that's neither here nor there. And then he gets signed to extension. He gets in a rivalry with Sami. Now we turn him heel. Okay. He's part of now Alpha Academy. Now he's part of American Made. And you can see what he can do. And then he does this ridiculous thing, which hasn't been confirmed with sources, but I've been hearing that El Grande Americano was Chad Gable. We don't know for sure, but still,
can't be.
It was the case. What an amazing ability to be able to do that back to back. So to me, Chad is an unquestionable talent. I hope that when he does recover from this injury, I'm sure a lot of people will agree with me. I don't know if you'll agree with me on this one, Jeff, that he should be garnered in a better position instead of doing this. It's cool to do these things with American Made, El Grande Americano, stuff like that, because he can do it not only well, he can do it and knock it out of the park. But I want to see him win that individual title. I want him to be a champion in this company and be that machine that he is. He so much reminds me of Kurt Angle. He's even getting the "you suck" chance like Kurt Angle, dude. It's amazing how talented this guy is. Wish him a speedy recovery. Wish Liv Morgan a speedy recovery. The rosters will move on. As you said, it's a door. It's an opportunity for other people to step up, like a Ludwig Kaiser.
Yeah.
But
I
hate to see it happen.
The trendsetter is that, again, we were harping on that he's stuck with this Grande Americano character, but he's on double the, he was on Money in the Bank, and then he was also on Worlds Collide. So in all aspects, though, at the end of the day, we're complaining about him being in this gimmick, but he's there. You know what I'm saying? Like his him being out there is there, like him being on Worlds Collide. And so he's being entrusted to do double duty, just like Stephanie Vaquero was that day. She's entrusted. So I think that the company does see him in a strong regard. Maybe we're a little bit of impatient with the trajectory of where this Grande Americano character was going. But at the end of the day, when I see it and we're harping, yes, for us, we want that title. We want him to get that. It's going to be good when he holds an individual title, whether it's the U.S. or the Intercontinental. But to me, what I think some of us fail to see is that the airtime that he's getting a lot of it. So I think that is also, it's as good as gold, right? That TV time that he's getting and garnering, those interactions and stuff like that, I think sometimes can be even more precious than carrying an individual championship, because he is a major player. And it sucks that he got injured, because I believe it's a shoulder injury, but he's going to be out till December. And obviously, we now see what we should have seen all along, is that Chad Gable is a very intricate part of Monday Night Raw. And when he comes back, hopefully he carries on. He picks up where he left off, but he will be missed. We see what happened to Ivy Nile and and everybody else there too. Hopefully that they don't their trajectory continues even without a Chad, but who knows? But
you don't want them to get lost in the shuffle, basically.
You don't want them to get lost in the shuffle. And again, it opens a door for a guy that's obviously, he's been lost in the shuffle in Ludwig Kaiser, because here's a guy who hopefully takes this and can do something with it, because he's somebody that should not be in catering, right? Where we feel I don't know if he got punished or not or something like that, but there's no reason why Ludwig Kaiser should be sitting on the sidelines.
Okay, so but to your point, you're just saying right now, there's no way Ludwig Kaiser should be doing this Grand Americano gimmick.
No. I'm saying that hopefully this gimmick does something for him because he should not be on the sidelines. He's too talented to not be doing anything.
Okay, but again, it's him doing this in the sense the character's on the sidelines because he's playing a Grande Americano. To your point, he's going to get TV time because he's going to start being on TV more as a Grande Americano. You said too, like, you know, Chad did double. You know, he has been trusted by the company. But my question is, how much is that trust within the company, or Chad proven that he can do whatever you ask of him, he's going to knock it out of the park? It's
Well, I mean, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both.
But you could say the same thing in terms of, we need to be more patient with Chad. Or did we have to be patient then with Cody? Was the turn for Cody going to happen after Stardust? You see my point, right? He's on TV. He's on TV. Wait, he's on TV. So he's getting TV time exposure, but he's not Cody Rhodes. I'm nothing against a Grande Americano. It's a fun gimmick. I'm laughing about it, but I want to see Chad. I don't want to see a Grande Americano. Just like I want to see Ludwig Kaiser. I don't want to see a Grande Americano in the version of Ludwig Kaiser because Ludwig was doing great work, and for some reason they stopped using him. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's just each your own because you do see Chad and you see a Grande Americano. It is kind of a gag, and it's not, and he is taken seriously to an extent as him in the ring as Chad. It's a fine line there, but I think your Stardust reference of Cody, all I'm going to tell you is, hey, my defense of that is it's an old regime. It was the older regime that did that. A little bit more faith now in what Triple H is doing with Chad, but again, I will see. We'll see here. It's a double-edged sword because
it's not about the regime, though, Jeff. It's about being patiently waiting. We can't wait. We don't want to see Stardust. We want to see Cody. We don't want to see a Grande Americano. We want to see Chad. We want to see Ludwig Kaiser. That's the point.
Well, again, but though the Grande Americano was taking off, though, it's not like, see, that's your preference. Like would I like to see more of Chad? Yes.
You're against the Grande Americano too. You're like, oh my god, are we doing this? Until you became a fan of it.
I was not a fan, but if it's working and he's getting the airtime, then are we just nitpicking? You know what I mean? Like to me, this will get a chance to get Ludwig off and running. Hey, was he missing a personality? Maybe this gives him a personality, and maybe it does something for him. It's a double-edged sword. You can like the gimmick, but it depends on what you do with it. So we'll see what Ludwig can do with it. So, but the the whole. Again, it's just to each their own. If you like the El Grande Americano, I thought it was leading off to a gag, but I think it just, at the end of the day, hindsight, it just led to Chad just having more airtime and just being more, being seen as more of a Swiss Army knife, which he is. And I hold him in higher regards. And again, I'm not trying to attack the Miz, but I see Chad Gable a little bit more in an aspect where, yeah, he can do a lot more stuff, but I think he is taken more seriously than the Miz would be, right? Wouldn't you say that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, the Miz has been used. He's been like to me, if I call Chad and Liv the MVPs, to me, the Miz is Swiss Army knife of the WWE in terms of, you use him for every single thing. And right now, he's kind of in purgatory to a certain way because, again, like I've said before, individuals that have proven, like a Liv Morgan, like a Chad Gable. Now, I can't really use Liv in this example because she's garnered herself. She's separated herself from the pack where now all you see is Liv Morgan. But in the past, these individuals, to their detriment to a certain degree, Jeff, were so good at being able to make anything work, it worked against them. So to a certain point where I've, listened to Cody's podcast with Kevin Owens, it's like sometimes it works against you. Sometimes it's fair enough to say, you know what, I don't want to do this. It doesn't make sense for my character. It doesn't make sense for me to do this. Can we do something else? At the end of the day, if you can't, then you can't. But again, it's a moot point now.
I was not I really hadn't tuned into Cody's podcast. I tried. I guess I chose the wrong one with Brandy. And don't get me wrong, it probably was good towards the end, but the beginning, it was just like, okay, I'm just waiting for it to be good. But then the whole Kevin Owens one was a joy. That one was just a joy to watch from the beginning to end.
Buddy's talking. That's what it was, man.
And you did. It was you got a lot of insight. And talk about injuries too. Finding out the Kevin Owens is finally get the surgery. And you look at a guy like Kevin Owens, and you root for him, and you hope he gets to wrestle again.
Yeah, what I got from Kevin though, he seems kind of, I feel, a level of acceptance that regardless of what
right.
happens,
I got that. Like
he's kind of like, I had a good career, so I can't really complain too much about it.
Yeah, I mean, but again, you just want to see him end it on his terms. So hopefully, he's able to come back. But that is a good one. That Cody podcast with Kevin Owens, definitely from beginning to end. They talked a lot of stuff too, a lot about Cody on the Indies too, which was really good. Kevin Owens is a big part of why Cody got to where he is. And it's funny and crazy, right? There's about Kevin Owens sitting there. It's like, could you believe? Even imagine at the highest peak that you'd be where you are, with the whiskey.
You can manage that, yeah.
And it's just crazy that's where he's at. And then and then the funny is like seeing Cody to when we saw Cody the last time and seeing him where he's at. You can relate too, man. It's very inspiring, and it keeps you want to keep going and getting to your goals and achieve those goals. So obviously, that is very entertaining podcast. Definitely give it a look. Saturday night's main event, man. Goldberg and Gunther. So we're getting this whole weekend all in as well. I mean, this is going to be a very busy July. And with TNA Slammiversary coming up too, so it's going to be a really busy July. Goldberg and Gunther. We know what it's going to be. I don't think they're going to put the title on Goldberg at all. I think he's going to get some stuff in. I think it's going to be nice. I think it's going to main event the show. And I think Bill Goldberg will be given a good send-off. Am I excited for the match? Well, I'm curious about the match, but the build-up, what do you think? Are you excited for Goldberg and Gunther the way it's gone so far?
Not really.
No.
I think you could do your best, and the WWE has done a great job with their packages. I'll give Gunther his flowers too, man. That promo he had in the middle of the ring saying, you know what, I'm going to end Goldberg. I apologize to your family of what I'm going to do to you. All this stuff just makes you like, wow, I can't wait to see it, right? But then that slowly turns because, listen, I've been victim of this, Jeff. I don't know if you have, right? I'll very adamantly admit this, that I want my favorites, the ones I grow up with, I never want them to age. I want them to wrestle forever. But there reaches a certain point where, as the old saying goes, Father Time is undefeated. And to that point, it's like you don't want to see your heroes, the ones you looked up, you don't want to see them human. You always want to see them larger than life. And I could say that about Bret Hart. I could say that about Shawn Michaels.
Happy birthday, Bret Hart, by the way. Happy birthday
to Bret Hart.
68 years old?
I feel old every day.
Hey, man. I remember Wrestling with Shadows. He was getting dressed and he was telling he was going to be 40 or something like that.
I know.
And that was like 20 years ago. It was like 25 years ago. He was 68 for him, man. Shout out
to things on Instagram that have said, if you remember this, you're like, freaking like 40 years old or 20, 30 years ago. I'm like, man, time has flown, bro.
Shout out to Bret the Hitman Hart. But
yes, there is.
I get what you're saying, but was Bill Goldberg ever a hero, or are you talking about just the Goldberg fans? Because
the point I'm trying to make is the fact that he wasn't a hero of mine, but he was larger than life. So it was like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Does he deserve a send-off?
I thought he had a send-off with Bobby Lashley, because I thought at least at that point in his career, despite the fact that what he did with Brock, that was the best look he was ever going to get. I even said it to you prior, like, my God, he's actually the closest he's looked in terms of what he looked before in the past. And I thought he had a really great match with Bobby Lashley, and I thought that was his send-off. I didn't know he had one more left in his contract, and then obviously the old regime didn't want to use him anymore, which I thought was a waste. But in this scenario, it's how many years later? He doesn't physically look the same. He's even admitted in interviews, like, I'm not going to be that size anymore. I'm not going to be that. This is the version of Goldberg at this stage of my life. So he's going to bring the intensity. He's going to scream and grunt, but I'm more fearful of the fact that the limitations you have. Now, Goldberg in his prime was limited at best, but he had the athleticism, this ability you could just do away with that and forget about it, right? Just because of the intensity and the explosiveness he's had before in the past. Working with a guy like Brock, that'd be great. I think working with Gunther is a benefit to Goldberg because he's going to work with somebody that can hopefully protect him and make it look good. I don't expect this to be a 20-minute match. I don't expect it to be a 30-minute match.
No. You just hope that it lasts 10 minutes as far as entrances.
It's going to be nostalgic.
4 minutes in the match, a stare down for like about a minute, and then.
But from a visual,
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to watch because I'm like, man, that's not Goldberg. It's
Well-
going to be tough for me to watch. But again, I understand the nostalgia. People are hating on it because of J.U. Say, oh, they took the title away from him, just like, with the Fiend. They took the title away from the Fiend and gave it to Goldberg. What's going on here? It's for the nostalgia factor. J.U. is fine. He's got more years ahead of him than Bill Goldberg. So that's what we're going to get Saturday Night's Main Event. So from the way the W is building it, kudos to them. I'm not looking forward to it. I will watch it. I got 5 minutes to spare to watch it, like Gunther said. He said 3 minutes, actually. But, yeah, I'm just hoping for the best. And that's different. It's supposed to me being critical and saying, oh, my God, Goldberg. I just want it to be good. I don't want anybody to get hurt, specifically Goldberg. And the last point I was trying to make is similar to when we saw Stone Cold Steve Austin in the fight with Kevin Owens. As much as I enjoyed watching it, and you and I were cheering, and you actually hit me in the shoulder so hard that I'm still sore to this day.
Good.
Still wasn't Stone Cold Steve Austin. I still got a receipt for you, Jeff. It still wasn't Stone Cold Steve Austin the way I wanted to see him, but still, he went out on his terms, and I hope Goldberg is satisfied enough to go out on his terms.
That's all you can do is have him go out on his terms and the way he wants to. To be damned how we want it to be. I mean, because the thing is, if someone says, hey, you guys should just stop podcasting, you should be in a Give Shot Network, you guys are, hey, it's when we want to. So as long as they have us, and it works. It works. Don't let anybody tell you when to go. And if you still want to go and you still have a draw, he still has a draw. It's going to be his hometown. Probably going to sell it out. And for the 5 minutes that's going to last, hey, listen, let him get it in one last time. Let it get it out of his system. And that's it. And then we move on to Gunther's next challenge, which could be CM Punk at SummerSlam.
Jeff, is it a big enough curveball to believe that it could actually happen?
No.
Because we didn't believe that with Brock Lesnar.
Because all you're doing is just giving yourself more headache as creative. Because what are you going to do? That is his last match. You were talking about how he's only got like 3.5 minutes left in him. It would be a epic failure or just idiotic for WWE to put the championship on Goldberg. It needs to be.
Man, that place would go crazy if he did it.
I'm sure there's going to be a spear where you think he's going to do it, but at the end of the day, once he loses, he'll get up. They'll stand up, applaud him, and they'll fade to black, and that'll be. I gotta believe that'll be the final matchup for Goldberg. That'll be the swan song. Of course, they added Seth freaking Rollins. I'm not gonna say freaking Rollins. Seth Rollins against LA Knights, who is gonna be interesting. And then on SmackDown, you got 2 returns, which obviously are gonna set up for Evolution and Saturday Night's Main Event. So 2 big returns on SmackDown. We'll talk about that over the weekend too. So we're not gonna spoil anything for you guys too. But 2 big returns scheduled for SmackDown. That will lead to Saturday Night's Main Event and the Evolution PLE. One thing that obviously AEW 300 is coming up soon. We'll get more into that as well too. As right now, it's about if you ask me in the build, it's all about Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné. That's what it is. Hangman and John Moxley is going to be a Texas death match. Oh joy! What are they going to do to themselves? That's probably worth the price of admission. But to me right now, it's about Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm and see what happens with a 7-belt Mercedes Moné. And then obviously the other thing too that we're going to close on is the mixed reports now about Britt Baker and what is going through her head, because as we get to this airtime of the show, there's been conflicting reports that it started out that Britt Baker is working on trying to get released from AEW. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen her in a long time, but AEW would be like shooting themselves in the foot here by letting her go. She's got more than a year left. Plus, if you can add injury time, we're talking about a while left on this contract. Remember, she did re-sign it a few years back where everything was hunky-dory. And then she's had her, whether she's hard to deal with, whether she can get along with people, whether she can lead in a ring. She comes back, has a great promo, probably her best promo ever about what she was fighting through. And then she had she's been stop and start. And then her famous No One Cares promo that she got caught with Serena Deeb. And that kind of put a little squash on her, on her, because we hadn't seen her since, right? So
have we seen Serena either or no?
I don't know.
I don't know that either.
Didn't do anybody any favors.
Yeah.
But now she posted on Instagram. So here's the thing, though. If she didn't want to say anything, she shouldn't have posted on her IG that kind of cryptic thing about know your worth and stuff like that. So that's where it led to it. And then the next day, Net said that Britt Baker had requested her, not requested, but was working on her release. And they've been kind of spot on a few things lately. And then Fightful said that no, they have not. Management hasn't been made aware, and so on and so on. So we got a little back and forth here, conflicting reports. Britt Baker is a very interesting subject here because we haven't talked about it in a long time, but it's another person that whether they're disgruntled, the conflict is should they be let go of their contract. Listen, business sense sometimes is just, hey, listen, cut your ties, don't hold people hostage. But then sometimes you're like, hey, listen, man, I can't let everybody go. I already lost Blake Monroe, Mariah May, and let them walk out the door. I could lose Private Party soon. I don't know. I don't know what WWE's thinking. And Danhausen. Could you believe that too? That they're interested in Danhausen? Well, anyways, it would not make sense to let her go of her deal. So here's the conflict. Does Britt Baker have any value? I mean, again, let's be honest here. Does she have any value right now whatsoever to WWE? Because you haven't seen her on TV and AEW, so that really hasn't increased her stock. Would WWE be in a rush to sign a Britt? Obviously, Britt sees what's going on with the Evolution, PLE. She was going on with Blake Monroe showing up on NXT, and just how the women have been, they're just the talent pool in WWE is crazy. It'd be tougher. I'll tell you what, if you talk about betting on yourself here, she's really would be betting on herself to go to WWE and doing something, because she would be in the back of the line, in my opinion, of trying to get an opportunity there. I really think it would be to her detriment if she tries to work out a release now and head over there. I think her best bet is to make amends with Tony, go through the deal, be more able to work with people, and just write it out. And then maybe in a year or so, build up your stock, because I just don't see where she would fit in the front of the line in WWE right now.
Listen, I don't agree with that statement, though, when you said, try to work something out with AEW or work out some that with Tony. I think at that point, it's better off just not to do business in that sense, because one, it's going to hurt you from a business standpoint, because you don't know whether, Britt Baker's going to have another episode like that, where it just makes you look bad as a company. And also, if Britt feels like creative isn't going her way, she's going to throw a tantrum or just do something completely out of the blue. So it's not going to do her any favors either if she decides to come back and it happens again. And then people are going to be like, yeah, she's don't really want to work with her anymore. So I think it's just best in the scenario. I don't think it hurts Britt from wanting to get out of her contract. I don't think it hurts her at all, because at this point, what's the worst can happen? All right, we're not going to have you on TV and you're going to sit out the rest of your contract. Okay, that's what I've been doing so far. So it doesn't really hurt her for trying to do that. I think maybe at the same time, maybe it's trying to say, you know what? It's just best we all go separate ways. Give me my no compete clause. I just want to be free. I should want to compete in the indies.
Well, there's no
maybe build up a name.
I don't think there's competes with AEW unless they break it, but they wasn't the case with Penta. It wasn't the case with Ray Phoenix. I don't think they have no competes in AEW. So the thing is, though, Trendsetter, is this though? If I am in AEW, say that the Brit says, "Hey, I want to work. I want to be more open to working. I want to change your image." Would you buy it knowing that she's coming back to work because she's trying to build her stock up to go to WWE? Right? Are you going to invest in that character, knowing that she's gone, right? The same thing as they did with Mariah May. This is somebody who's been WWE. This is somebody obviously who's kind of like soured on AEW as a company. Are we going to push her for the next year or so for have her only leave? So that's another thing that AEW has to take into consideration.
Yeah, but absolutely not, though, because then how can you trust her? You would take the risk of it happening again. So that's why I feel like regardless of what happens, whether she works out a way to get out of her contract and then possibly adding a no compete in terms of satisfying the fact, okay, you're no longer an AEW superstar, but you can't compete for X amount of days. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there for, I don't know how to work with contracts and things like that, but that's an avenue there. But it doesn't hurt Britt Baker. In terms of her having value, don't really see much value in Britt Baker. I think if the scenario comes where finally they decide to part ways after how much time it takes for her to be out of her contract, I think she has a long way of building up her name, where she would probably have to go back on the indie scene, rebuild her name, rebuild good rapport. But I think from a name standpoint, what she's accomplished in AEW to a certain degree, what she's done in the Indies prior to joining AEW, I think WWE would sign her, but not in a rush to do it. She would have to prove herself, I feel, in order to do it. And then prove what? I'm sure people would say, well, prove that you can, one, be good in the ring, because she's been pretty much mediocre to a certain degree in the ring. And two, you're trustworthy. You're not going to be difficult to deal with. And if you can prove that, then who knows? But again, if she does leave, who says a TNA doesn't want to sign her? Who says an MLW doesn't want to sign her? I mean, nobody thought TNA, for example, who would have thought that, one of the biggest people you would think would not be re-signed by AEW, she's not back on the roster there too. And like I said, you thought she was, she was a case that would never happen for this particular individual who I will not mention her name, but I think it's all possible though. But in terms of,
I don't even know who you're talking about.
Really?
I have no idea.
Tessa Blanchard, Jeff.
Was she ever in AEW?
No, but I'm saying she got signed. Dude, you completely went over your head there. In terms of what was going on? The whole controversy.
Oh yeah, the whole race thing. The whole race.
Yeah, who would think that she would be re-signed by TNA when she basically held them hostage for the title?
Yeah.
So I think there's ability for people to come back in the industry and show good form. Like I said, maybe a TNA, maybe an MLW, maybe she goes to Japan. Who knows? But I'm saying it's not going to be WWE. And I'm saying Tessa Blanchard as an example because no one thought she would ever get another opportunity with any main company. She has one with TNA. Haven't heard anything bad about her recently, so seems to be working out. She wants to go to WWE eventually. Will WWE take the shot at her? From a comparison of wrestling standpoint, Tessa's on a different level than Britt Baker, but Britt has that opportunity. But like you said, she'll be waiting in the back of line to do it because she has a lot more to prove within herself as a character and as an in-ring performer to get the opportunity with WWE.
A lot of stuff going on, man, and it all leads to Evolution, all leads to Saturday Night's Main Event, and all leads to All in Texas. A lot of wrestling to digest, but we wanted to talk about the whole CM Punk thing and just about like his weekend in Saudi. Glad we were able to touch on that as well, and also to the injury bug in WWE with Chad and Liv, as well as just talk about Rhea and her situation with, what is all this online hate to, and then the build to Evolution. Obviously, a lot of people not liking only 2 weeks for the build, but hey, that's what it is. When WWE's hot right now, they have put show after show after show. And then we talked about Bill Goldberg and Gunther and that build too. We'll definitely talk about that as well in the week to come. We want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July here from HSP and the Give a Shot Network. Guys, I hope you have a safe and great holiday. Enjoy the barbecue. Enjoy being together with the family. And we wish you nothing but the best this 4th of July weekend. We will see you ASAP. As you can follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. Make sure you watch this here. Subscribe to the YouTube channel here in the Give a Shot Network as well. Look at all the shows that they have here. This weekend, if you got nothing to do, hey, just go on YouTube, Give a Shot Network, give all the channels. This is your home for all Caitlin Clark news because obviously the guys cover like no other. So definitely make sure you do that as well. And also to guys,
CM Punk, yeah.
We're your home for CM Punk, so make sure you do that. But again, a lot of wrestling in the next week or two, so definitely stay here with HSP on Give a Shot Network. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and Trendsetter closes out as you normally do with that little holiday spirit too of 4th of July. Let me just call you Uncle Sam and have us close it out, Uncle Sam, because you got the kind of like the beard going. It's just not white yet, fully white yet. So close it like you normally do, Uncle Sam.
Yeah. More shows with you, it's going to be completely white anytime sooner than later, basically. But guys, thank you so much for listening to our episode of the High Spot Podcast. For unfortunately my tag team partner Jeff Martin, I'm the Trendsetter Brian Berg. We are the Jersey Wrecking Crew, and don't forget we do this for one reason and one reason only. As you light up your barbecues and start, I can smell the barbecue right now.
Oh man, give me a burger.
I know, me too. I can't wait. We do this for one reason and one reason only. We do this for you, the
crew.